Welcome everyone to another soccer chat today. Today is Friday, uh, November 18th, and we're gonna do a little preview of the Premier League coming up this weekend, as well as talk about what happened on Tuesday evening. I'm gonna go ahead and start with that. I'm gonna touch a little bit on the Mexico game because that's the one I watched. I didn't watch the U.S. game, but we'll talk about that in a sec. Um, it was a very frustrating game. It was on a field in Panama where it looked like it had rained all day. It had, and then reports say that they had to also try to water the field for some reason, and it was a muddy mess. It was a swamp. The players were running, and you could literally see water splashing where they stepped. There was one point, I think it was in I want to say, second half where Ochoa came out, slid, and got the ball, and it looked like a car was driving on the road and drove over a puddle. Just water splashed everywhere. It was a disaster of a field. Um, that being said, I thought Panama first half came out really strong, really aggressive, and as I've mentioned in the past, they've been coming out over the last few years, and it looks like they've really come out to hurt the Mexican players when they come out and play. They did some serious dirty tackling, and eventually, I think when you get hit, I don't know if you guys play have ever played any kind of competitive soccer. When you get hit over and over and over, you want to hit back, and eventually that's what happened. The Mexican players started hitting back. Um, I didn't want that to happen, but it's in human nature. Keep getting hit. This is the third game in a row where Panama come out to hurt. One of the Panamanian players ninja kicked one of the Mexican players. It was ridiculous. It was a first half, I think. No card, not even a card. Uh, One Panamanian player got his nose broken. Um, I think the first half was really bad. Second half they came out. I think Panama got tired, and Mexico just started passing the ball in their own half. I think Mexico set up in a way that they were either gonna score quickly and get the lead, or not score quickly and get the lead, and then just hang back. This seemed to be a gap in the midfield that Jonathan Dos Santos was the only player playing in the midfield. So we had the forwards. We had three forwards, sometimes even four or five, depending on who went up. And then you had the defenders. And that was it. There was no midfield. So there was no connection. Chicharito never got the ball. Jimenez never got the ball. It didn't really look like a very good formation. It didn't look like very good personnel playing in those positions either. There's no reason Diego Reyes is playing right back. That is not what he plays. That is not what he's good at. He got a yellow card because he made a clumsy challenge. He got a yellow card, and he deserved it. It was a stupid. I don't know. I don't know. I want to give Osorio the credit that he deserves for coming into the U.S. and winning, and then going to Panama and in those conditions and not losing, because it would have been easy to lose that game. Um, they had I think one actual dangerous chance on goal, and we had one actual dangerous chance on goal. That was it. It was just a sloppy midfield slop fest. I don't know. It was a hard game to watch. It was a hard game to watch. Fair result, probably. Both teams. I don't think either team did enough to merit a victory. And that's that. And that's the result I actually said that I would be satisfied with. I thought Mexico could win, but I also thought they could lose. And coming out there and going 0-0 and getting 4 points out of the first two games, like I said, two really difficult away games, I'm completely satisfied with those results as a fan. That being said, a lot of people were criticizing it. Listen, I'm gonna name my arch nemesis in real life. He's Mexican commentator that works for ESPN Deportes. His name is David Feitelson, and he is a moron. If you're listening, I hate you. You're an idiot. You don't know anything about the sport. You don't. You shouldn't be. I don't know how they pay you to talk about soccer. Um, you're an absolute disgrace. And I was listening to ESPN Deportes after the game, and he's just the most ignorant person in the world. I'm not going to get into him. I just want to say, he's like, Mexico should have come out and dominated like 5-0. Like, did you not see the field? It was a swamp. It was literally a swamp. It's hard. Spain, because he's like Spain and blah blah blah. He just started naming other countries that play hard every time. You think Spain goes into a swamp like Panama and wins 5-0? You have no idea what you're talking about. Like, sorry, Spain does not go into Panama Tuesday night and get a 5-0 victory. That would not happen. That would not happen. It has nothing to do. Like, I'm not saying Mexico's as good as Spain. I'm just saying a place like that with those conditions, with Panama hitting like they're hitting, disrupting the play. The pitch was soaked. The ball wasn't rolling well. There's no way. There's no way. A team that's used to playing on pristine pitches. Listen, Mexican players in Mexico, their fields are fine. The ones that are playing in Europe, their fields are fine. They're not used to playing on fields like that. And you can say, I mean, the fields in Panama, the best field in the country is worse than the worst field in Mexico. Professional field. Okay? If it had been a nice dry day or evening, maybe things are different. Maybe even Panama plays better because I think they were disrupted by the field too. Players were slipping left and right. Point is, you don't say stupid stuff like that. Just say like, England and Germany would have come in and try to win 5-0. You're an idiot. That's all I have to say about that. I didn't see the U.S. game because obviously they were at the same time. They were updating us on the channel though. I think that's another score. Every time they said, "Oh, score update," I was like, "Okay, U.S. scored," and every time it wasn't. And I was actually my jaw dropped when I heard the final 4-0. Amazing. I mean, good for Costa Rica. Let's just put it that way. Let's not take anything away from them. They say that the U.S. players quit. I know what that's like. Mexican players quit against Chile this last summer. I know what it's like for your team to quit. It's frustrating. It makes you angry. It's the first and only Mexico game I've ever stopped watching. Like, I stopped watching the game in the middle of the game, and I've had friends that told me that this last game, U.S. Costa Rica, was the first game that they've ever stopped watching the U.S. play, because the players quit. And I said the same thing. If the Mexican players during that Chile game can't bother to show up and play the game, then I'm not going to bother watching them. I said that. I actually did. And I don't blame the U.S. fans for quitting on the team too. If they're going to quit, why not we quit? I can't comment. I did see some extended replays, but obviously that's not the same thing as watching the game, so I'm not going to comment on the play or whether the players quit or not. But I am going to comment on the latest rumors on the intrawebs that apparently Jurgen Klinsmann his replacements they've been looking for replacements for about a year now. A couple of sources are saying they've been weighing replacements for Jurgen for about a year, and a lot of the names that have been thrown out there are Bruce Arena. Like, are you people for real? I mean, okay, Bruce Arena has the best record, I think, of any U.S. coach. I think that's true. And yes, he oversaw the most successful period in the U.S. Team. But as I said in the last episode, the talent pool is not the same. I mean, back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, I think the U.S. had the golden age of U.S. soccer, the most talented team the U.S. has ever had. I don't think that the U.S. has that talent right now. Like I said, you have Pulisic and Green, who are up-and-coming youngsters, but they're not the finished article. They're not going to go compete against a Germany or an Italy or a France or a Portugal. You're not going to. You're not going to compete against those teams. Is it Klinsmann's fault? I've always said Klinsmann was a lousy coach. He's a lousy manager. I think he was lousy when he coached Germany. I don't think he was particularly good. He coached a group of players that eventually became the best team in the world. I mean, you know, I- they say that Jurgen Lowe's that actually the one that coached the team. Klinsmann was just the face of the team. I don't know if that's true. He and then he came to the U.S. after I think it was Bayern Munich, wasn't it? Fairly disappointing season with them. I I never think that a coach should be fired halfway through a World Cup cycle. I don't believe in that. Mexico's done it many times over the last few cycles, and I think it's stupid. It's hurtful for the team, and if uh, you can hurt the team by switching managers right now, or you could fire up the team by switching managers right now. The opposite side of that is if the team's not gonna, the U.S. is not gonna miss on the World Cup. Could it happen? Yes. Like I said last time, it can happen. It's not going to, but it could. Very small chance of it happening. I think if you switch managers right now, you're only going to do worse. You're only going to do more harm. I think I think Jurgen Klinsmann's a lousy coach. He should be fired. If I was a U.S. fan, if I were a U.S. fan, I'd want him out. Um, but not right now. Well, I guess right now the next set of qualifying matches, the next set isn't until March. So you have time. You have time to bet in a new coach. So maybe now is the right time. Who knows? I just don't like doing it in the middle of a World Cup cycle. I just don't think that's healthy. At the same time, he's not a good manager and he needs to go if you're a U.S. fan. I've said this in the past. Long may he stay as U.S. manager because as long as he's in charge, we're going to be better. We're going to be the dominant team in the region. That's what I think. Um, he's getting the other problem is he's getting paid like what $3 million a year, and if they cut his contract, probably gonna have to pay him out, and that's a lot of money. Is it worth paying him out right now? I don't know because the U.S. is gonna make the World Cup, so is it worth it? I don't think it is. I don't think it is. But that's not my call. I do think I think he's awful. He's an awful manager. And he should be ashamed of himself, and he needs to get fired. But who knows what's gonna happen? I really don't. Uh, I don't know. I don't think bringing Bruce Arena is the answer because he doesn't have the same players that he had before. And I will continue to say he had the best group of players the U.S. has ever had. He's not going to find the same success with this group. I, I can't just see you switch managers and all of a sudden you play really well. Maybe he will. Maybe you just need someone that understands what U.S. soccer really is. Because Jurgen Klinsmann was brought in after Bob Bradley. Because Bob Bradley stagnated the U.S. team, um, made it to a World Cup, got out of the first round, but needed other teams to lose. I think which one was it? Was it 2006, where the U.S. needed, I think, Portugal to or Ghana to win, something like that. If you recall, the U.S. won their game, but they still needed the other team. I think North Korea needed to beat Portugal, and everyone was like, nah, it's never going to happen. And it ended up happening. Portugal fell apart, and then the U.S. snuck in because Portugal lost. And then Bob Bradley lost that Gold Cup final against Mexico 4-2. Then he got fired. And then Klinsmann got brought in and did the same thing in the World Cup. Germany was winning. I think Germany. I don't remember I don't have the numbers in front of me. But Germany was beating the U.S. in that last game, and the U.S. needed the other game to go a certain way, the other game in the group, because Germany was winning. The United States had to beat Germany to advance on their own, and they lost to Germany. But the other game ended in a result that bumped the U.S. up. And that's two World Cups in a row where the U.S. doesn't make it out of their own group. They needed help from one of the other teams. And I guess the whole point was that's not what the U.S. wants anymore. The U.S. wants to get out of the group because they got out of the group, regardless of the results of the other games. And that's just not happening. If the results hadn't gone, if the other game hadn't gone a certain way, the U.S. doesn't make it out of the group for two World Cups in a row. So Klinsmann has not improved. Granted, it was a tough group, but Klinsmann has not improved the outcome. It's the same outcome. You made it out of the group, but only because another team screwed up. You know, that's not progress. And then he's broken he's broken some records for worst results in U.S. history. Like, no U.S. team has ever come out and lost the first two games of the World Cup qualifying. Klinsmann's done that. Klinsmann's overseen the first time the U.S. has lost at home in Columbus in World Cup qualifying. The first time in decades that the U.S. has lost at home in World Cup qualifying, period. And the worst loss since like the 1970s, which was I think a 5-1 loss against Mexico in Mexico City, or maybe was it 5-1? I don't remember. So those are three really bad things that he's done within the last week, and I don't see. He says he's building for the future, and all he's done is bring in a lot of young players from other countries that like there were potentially German players, potentially, but they chose the U.S. instead, and that's great. But he hasn't really improved the team overall, and I think he needs to go. And I don't think they're going to fire him, though. I just don't think so. They should, but I don't think they're going to. Moving on, let's talk about the Premier League, because the Premier League is back. Real football is back. I will say I'm a Tottenham Hotspur supporter, first and foremost. So I'm going to talk about that, but first I am going to talk about the biggest game of the weekend, which is obviously Manchester United at Arsenal. Actually, it's the other way around. Arsenal at Manchester United. I say it's the biggest game. It's the biggest name on paper. It's really not the biggest game of the weekend. I would say the biggest game of the weekend. Southampton, Liverpool. Number one team against a team that's struggling. I don't know. Tottenham, West Ham. That's a London derby. So that's a pretty big game. You got Watford and Leicester City, the so-called defending champions. You guys don't know how I feel about Leicester City, but you'll understand how I feel about Leicester City as time goes on. I hate that team. I'm not going to get into it right now, but anyway, Leicester City, defending champions against probably a team that's going to beat them in Watford. So who knows? But let's talk about Arsenal. Let's talk about Manchester United. I don't see. So history has it. I don't think Arsenal has beaten Manchester United at Old Trafford in a long time. I think that changes tomorrow. That changes tomorrow morning. I don't see Manchester United winning this game. Even if they didn't have all the suspensions and injuries that they picked up over the international break, I don't think Manchester United has the talent to beat Arsenal. I'm not necessarily saying Arsenal is such a great team. Obviously, not a big Arsenal fan. But realistically, let's put biases aside. Arsenal's going to destroy them. Arsenal should destroy them, and I don't see any way out for Manchester United in that matchup. I just don't see them winning. I don't think they have the midfield. They definitely don't have the defending. And who's going to score the goals? It's pretty much all three. I think Arsenal have a much better midfield. I don't know if they have a better defense, but they definitely have a better attack. And Manchester United are in some serious struggles right now, which makes me very happy. Actually, I will say this for just for clarity's sake, my least favorite team of all time is Manchester United, followed closely by Real Madrid. But out of those two teams, I really Um, I really hate them both. Just so everyone knows. I just want to get that out there because, um, yeah, I hate Arsenal. I do. I hate their players. I don't hate Arsenal as a club. I hate Arsenal players and their fans. Sorry, guys. You guys are annoying. Chelsea's right up there. Chelsea, the players are the worst. And the fans are just the most obnoxious. Manchester City is getting up there too. But they still don't have that Chelsea arrogance. Even though they have more money, they still don't have that Chelsea arrogance. But Manchester United just the most bandwagony team in the world. It's ridiculous. Anyway, um, I don't see United pulling this one off. I just don't think they have the quality. They don't have the mentality, and they don't have the personnel right now because there are a lot of injuries. So I think that's going to be that. Um, it's a tight one. The top five, only 5 points separate. Um, I don't know what to say about that. I don't expect Liverpool to stay up there. Liverpool plays Southampton at Southampton. I don't expect them to do that. I don't expect them to maintain because they let in a lot of goals. They don't have very good defending. It's one of those like you guys score 4 goals, we'll score 6, and they tried that a few years ago. If you guys remember with Luis Suarez when he was still around, and eventually you fall short. You can't sustain that kind of because if anyone goes down injured, Coutinho goes down injured, you're screwed. If Mane goes down injured, you're screwed. So that's something you can't. I don't think they're going to be able to maintain it. I don't think they're going to stay top of the league. I like Liverpool. I feel bad for them over the last 20 years. They have a lot of history and they've fallen short a couple of times. I really felt bad for Stevie G. I really wanted him to get a title before he left. I just I don't think Liverpool have the defending to sustain this kind of campaign. Um, Sunderland Hull City, that's going to be a snoozer. Maybe not a snoozer. Those low table games can actually oftentimes be very, very exciting. Sunderland are woefully bad. But Hull City are not too far behind them in that department. So, you know, we'll be 12 games in after this weekend, and Sunderland have 5 points. 5. That is incredible. Every year Sunderland managed to escape. I don't think they're going to escape this year. Um, Swansea's right there with 5 as well. And Bob Bradley, you picked the wrong team for the first ever U.S. manager to manage in England. Swansea are abysmal. I don't think he makes it the entire season. He's going to get fired, and Swansea's going to go down. I would love for West Ham to go down too. I hate West Ham. Here's the thing with West Ham, and let's talk about the Tottenham West Ham game now. West West Ham is a big team. It's a big team in London. They beat Tottenham over the Olympic Stadium, and for some reason at that moment West Ham thought that Tottenham was a big rival, and now they see the Tottenham game as this big rivalry game. We don't see it that way. Like it's kind of like the Panama Mexico situation. You the small team has this complex where they think that the bigger team is a big rival, and we're looking at you like, who are you again? What was your name? And they're like, oh, we'll get you this time. I'm like, I don't remember you. I actually don't. So, yeah, they always come out and play hard against us, but they're not doing very well this season. And it makes me so happy. First season at their new stadium, and they're like, oh, we got the stadium over Tottenham. That's a win. And then I think you have 0 home victories, maybe 1 home victory so far this season. How's that new stadium working out for you, idiots? In the end, it ended up working out better for us because we're building a huge modern stadium, and you guys can have the stupid Olympic Stadium. and enjoy 17th spot, because that's where you're going to be hanging out the entire season. The only reason they're not going to get relegated is because Sunderland and Swansea are worse teams. I can definitely see some of those, at bottom of the table, Swansea and Sunderland are head and shoulders above everyone else in terms of how bad they are. It's really incredible how terrible they really are. I always get nervous when we play West Ham, though, because I've said this since I started watching Tottenham, the best way for you to get out of a funk is to play Tottenham. I remember a couple of seasons ago, Everton were like 5-game losing streak, play Tottenham and beat us like 2-0. That stuff happens all the time, and it's super frustrating. We have a lot of injuries right now. Unofficially, I think we have 8. So Harry Kane, Vincent Janssen, Dele Alli, Lamela, Christian Eriksen, Dembele, Alderweireld, and Ben Davies. Unofficially, those are the 8 players that are injured. There are some rumors that Kane is back, so he's going to play. Eriksen is back, he's going to play. Dele Alli is back, he's going to play, and Moussa Dembele is going to play. Those are the rumors. But for sure, Lamela and Alderweireld are out, and so is Davies, which means Danny Rose is going to be playing this weekend and Champions League next week. I think it's next week. So that's a potential dangerous. I think, I don't know what to say. I'm really nervous. We didn't have these kind of injuries last season. The fact that we're still undefeated is amazing with the injuries that we've had. But we can't keep drawing games and expect to not fall behind, because just looking at the teams that are near and around us right now, Arsenal is going to beat Manchester United, so they're going to pop up ahead. Manchester City's going to beat Crystal Palace, I think. Liverpool will probably beat Southampton, and Chelsea will probably beat Middlesbrough. And that leaves us, assuming all those teams do win, we're 3 points behind Arsenal right now, in 5th. So assuming those things do happen and all the top 4 teams win, that would leave us 6 points behind Arsenal. And if we tie, that's 5 points behind Arsenal. And that's just not good enough. Like, we can't be overtaken unless we lose and Manchester United somehow win by like 7 goals. Which Manchester United are not going to win by 7 goals. They're not going to win at all. But we have to start winning these games. And the injuries aside, we have to start winning these games. And a game against West Ham United is exactly the kind of game that we need to be winning. They're struggling. I'm not saying that they have a bad team. I'm saying they're struggling. And if we're going to be an elite team in this league, these are the kinds of games that we have to see. Hey, look, here's a team that's struggling. Let's kick them while they're down. It's also West Ham, so let's beat them up so they'll stop talking, because they do need to be put in their place. That's how I feel about West Ham. They need to be put in their place. I don't know. It'll depend on who's healthy. It'll really depend on who's healthy. We're at home. We don't lose at home. We have the best defense in the league, but we're not scoring very many goals. Oh, and Heung-min Son. There was some rumors that he had been playing hurt over the last couple of weeks, which coincided with his loss of goal scoring touch. Because he was scoring goals left and right, and then all of a sudden he stopped. And word has it that he actually was hurting, so that's why he was struggling. He did play over the international break, so hopefully that means he's fine. But we really need to get our attack going. And as long as Alderweireld is hurt, I really don't feel like we can play our best players in their best spot. Because Eric Dyer, he's defending well, but he's a defensive mid. He's not playing in the spot. I don't like him there. I would much rather him play defensive mid alongside Moussa Dembele and have Alderweireld back, partnering up with Jan Vertonghen, best defensive pair in the world, in my opinion. I think they're the best defensive central defensive pair in the world. I think, and that is a little biased, but they're an amazing. They played together in the national team. They played together for Tottenham, and they are the best defensive pair in the league. So that is the big loss, I think. I don't. I don't know. I was gonna say I don't think Arsenal scored their goal 2 weekends ago if Alderweireld is playing, but I don't know. We'll never know now, of course. And we need to start scoring some goals now because we do have a good goal differential. And we've only allowed 6 goals the entire season, but we've only scored 15. And that's about average in the league. There are teams under us in the table that have scored more goals. Just to let you know what that's like. There are teams below us in the table that have scored more goals. They've let in, obviously, twice as many as we have. The only other team that's allowed single-digit goals is Chelsea. But on the other hand, they've scored 26 goals, and we've scored 15. So, Harry Kane, we need you healthy. We need you healthy right now. This is not going to be a good campaign if we are not healthy. We can't sustain. We're not going to keep up with Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea, and Arsenal. We're not going to keep up with them if we can't score the goals. And Heung-min Son, if he's scoring the goals, that's fine. And Jansen hasn't scored yet from open play. I really worry that he's going to be the next Roberto Soldado, and that hurts my heart because I love Soldado. I loved him. I know all Tottenham fans. He held a special place in our heart. But I see us struggling if we're not going to be able to put some goals in the back of the net. Because we can tie 0-0 until the end of the season, and we'll finish like 10th, 11th. So we have to start scoring some goals, and this weekend is the weekend to do it. This weekend is the weekend to do it because it's West Ham. Like I said, they're struggling. Quickly running through the other games, Watford, Leicester City. I wouldn't even put Leicester City as a mid-table team. They're a bottom of the table team. They're gonna go down in history as the worst defending champions. As much as I hate Chelsea, I love that they were the worst defending champions of all time. Leicester City is gonna break that record. They were never a good team. They were a bad team last year. They were a lucky team, and this year they're showing that this is reality. This is where Leicester City should be. Should be bottom half of the table. Right now they're 14th, and they're gonna lose this weekend because Watford's a better team, and I actually predicted at the beginning of the season that I would not be surprised if they were battling for against relegation by the end of the season. And they're dropping points. They've gotten smashed by teams, absolutely smashed. And I don't think it's just because they lost Conte. The one player can make that big of a difference, but I don't think that's the entire thing. I just think reality set in. They weren't that good last year. They were a lucky team, a very lucky team. Everything lined up in their favor. The stars lined up in their favor, and they ended up winning the league. That's not going to happen. They won't make it top half. So Watford should beat them. Crystal Palace, I don't know, man. Manchester City has this habit of, on paper, being like they're going to smash the other team, and then they pull out some, I don't know what they do, and then they end up losing or tying. I would not be surprised if they didn't win this game. It's at Crystal Palace, so I would not be surprised if they didn't win. I wouldn't be surprised if they did either, but I'm not as confident calling that one. They should win, but they may not. Everton Swansea, that's a good one for Everton to get back on the winning. Swansea's a terrible team. They're at Everton as well. Stoke and Bournemouth, mid table teams going at each other. I'm gonna go for the home team, just because. I mean, I think they're right above each other. Well, I think they're like 11 and 12 or 12 and 13. So I think Stoke is one spot above Bournemouth, and they're at home. Probably so. Stoke. Southampton, Liverpool. Southampton played really well last game, and they ended up giving up a lead and losing. And I think they could score some goals against Liverpool, but they're gonna get run over. I don't see that one being close. Maybe 5-2, something like that, something crazy. I wouldn't be surprised, like a 5-2. Even it's at St. Mary's, like I said, so maybe not that much. But I don't see Southampton holding Liverpool to like 1 or 2 goals, and then scoring 3. I just don't see it. And the last game on Saturday, Tottenham West Ham. West Ham at Tottenham. We're back at White Hart Lane. Wembley is not friendly to us, so I think we need that home cooking. I think we'll win, maybe 2-1, 2-0. Sunday, Chelsea visit Middlesbrough. I predicted Middlesbrough would stay up this season. And I think they still might, but they're going to lose. They're going to lose. Chelsea's defense is too good, and they're clicking right now. Whatever they're doing right now is working, and it makes me really sad. But it's working, and I don't think they can beat Chelsea, even at home. And Burnley visit West Brom on Monday. Burnley's surprising people. They're surprising me, I'll tell you. I don't know what to say about that game. I really haven't watched either team. I just know Burnley is not in a position that I thought they'd be in. They're top half of the table. I didn't think they would be. So I'm not really sure what to say. Evenly matched contest. So I guess I'll go with the home team for that one as well. Maybe West Brom will get something out of that one. Maybe it'll be a tie. Who knows? But I think pretty straightforward games this weekend. Nothing really out of the ordinary, I don't think. The Arsenal-Manchester United game. That's the one that, if you're going to watch a game this weekend, that's the one I would watch. Because I think Arsenal is going to go to Old Trafford and break their duck and win there. So, okay, well, that's it for this episode. Probably do this once a week, except during international break. I might do it to coincide with the games. But once a week, that's what I think. Maybe on a Wednesday. I don't know yet. Maybe previewing the upcoming week and talking about the week that just passed. So who knows? But anyway, thanks for listening. And we'll catch you guys next time.